Welcome back to the Ellen Hub channel. My name is Dr. Sarah Chidiberejo. I like to come out here every once in a while to come share thoughts on research. But remember, the Ellen Hub channel is not just about research. There's a lot going on here. There are movies to watch by very intelligent, brilliant actors. There are news stories because Ellen Hub is all about media, information, inspirational content. So please do well to subscribe, follow us, and leave comments. I've been away for a little while, with respect to research content, and so I'd like to apologize. I've seen all the messages, all the comments, very lovely. I did a video on, and I'm going to link it up here, on how people can write their first 3 chapters of their work, whether it be a thesis, a dissertation, or an undergraduate project. I'm really excited about how well it's been received. And I've also seen the request to please do more, talk about the front 5 and so on. And so I'm responding to that. We're going to do all of those. So I decided to come here today to quickly address a concern. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm a lecturer. I work with a lot of students, and I see them struggle a lot with their research. And one of the trends I've observed is, in the guise of trying to avoid plagiarism, a lot of students just paste citations without understanding really that there's a role a citation plays in a work. I'd like you to just pause now, go grab yourself a very nice cup of coffee, and then come back. We're going to discuss it. And also remember, subscribe, like, share. This content is going to be really beautiful, so please don't lose it. I'll be right back. Welcome back. Again, my name is Dr. Sarah Chidiberejo, and this is the Ellen Hub channel. If you haven't subscribed, this is a great time to do so, because listen, there's a lot that you can gain, especially for research students on this particular channel. So please. So before we went on the short break, I said to you, we're going to discuss this whole thing about citation. Why do we cite? I know in my past videos, I've talked about the kind of materials that we can cite, and how to even go about doing it. I've mentioned all of those. But today, just because of these things, like a trend I've observed, that people just take the citations and they just plaster it on there and then they go on their merry way. And that's not what it's supposed to be. Citations serve a particular purpose. But let me kick off by showing you 4 reasons why we cite in the first instance. And then I'll go on to describe when and where do we put citations. It's really, really important. So why do we cite? The first one is to give credit to sources. You've borrowed somebody's words. You've borrowed their ideas. It's important that from the get-go, you make it clear that these are not my words. They belong to somebody else. These are not my ideas. They belong to somebody else. These images I've included in this work, they are not mine. I didn't come up with this image, this photograph, this video. They belong to somebody else. And you do that following the prescribed style by your school, whether that be APA, MLA, Chicago, or any of the others. And of course, in future videos, I'll show you examples of this kind of styles and how you're going to apply them. And of course, there are abundant resources online on how to cite and how to do it, generate citations electronically. We can share those in the future. But just know that the reason we cite is to give credit to people whose ideas we've incorporated in our work. The second one is for fact checking. So I'm reading your work and I've seen something that you've written. You've made this claim. You said this person said it. I'd like to go check. Be sure that you've used it correctly. That this claim you made, really, it was Johnson and Johnson 2005 who said it, rather than Ocon and Chris Biro who said it in 2010. I want to be able to make that distinction. Maybe I'm carrying out my own research on the same subject. I just want to be sure what to read up to know exactly how you've backed up some of the things that you've said. So for fact checking, citation is a fact checking instrument. The next one is to show knowledge, to demonstrate knowledge, that I know what I'm talking about. I know the kind of subjects, I know these concepts, I know these ideas, I know this theory. And this is the person who said it. So for instance, you're talking about framing. You want to mention names like Entman. It's important that you show that you know what you're talking about, because you see, research is how we change the world. What's the point writing and making all these false claims? At the end of the day, you're not changing anything, because when people go back to check and you've made some false information, you know what's happening around the world. People are losing their jobs because of plagiarism and stuff like that. So you want to be sure that you include people's references to show that you know what you're talking about. The next one is, of course, the one that everybody knows and is scared of: avoid plagiarism. When you take somebody's idea, it's only decent nice, honorable, that you say this is where you got them, so that you're not guilty. People have lost their certificates, they've lost their jobs, the entire world crumbled because of plagiarism. And for some persons, you may not be able to graduate. In my university, for instance, if you have a very high plagiarism score, you'll be asked to go repeat your project. And so you want to avoid all of those. From the get-go, you want to cite. So these are the reasons that we cite. When we come back, I'll tell you when and where we're to plug citations. Where is it necessary? Is it just something you plug and play? Is it just for decoration? Where exactly do we need to cite? I'll share with you when we come back. So, on to the last part, and I believe the most important in this instance. Where do we cite? When exactly are we supposed to cite? Is it just randomly? Or are there places within our papers, within the thesis, within our documents where a citation is required? There are indeed. It's not a casual practice. It's not this person cited 1,000 and so the work is good. No. The quality of a work, why citation is important, is actually the content of your work and the strength of your argument that distinguishes one research from the other. So the first location for citation is when a claim has been made. If you make a claim that 10,000 persons died as a result of terrorism in the Niger Delta, you have to tell us where you got it, because that is not general knowledge. Remember, if you go back to the previous videos, I've detailed instances for citation. When is it necessary to cite? But what we're talking about is where within the document. So when you've made a claim, a bold claim that is not subject to common knowledge, that everyone doesn't know, that is not generic, there you need to cite. You need to tell us where you got it. Do you get it from a newspaper, peer-reviewed journal, a magazine, a video, a publication? Where did you get it? People want to know. That's how you lend credibility to your work. The second location for the inclusion of citation is when you've made an argument. So in your work, you have looked at this person's work and you've looked at this other person's work and you're comparing and you've reached the point where you're developing your own thesis, your position on the matter. You have to refer to those other places, those other instances, what other authors have said that has brought you to this point where you're arguing thoughts. I don't know whether you're following this conversation. What I mean by that is, for instance, in my work, I've argued that, well, terrorism doesn't have a particular definition. But at the same time, a lot of scholars have defined it in particular ways. And because of these definitions, and looking at my own work, this is a definition I have decided to adapt. It is a requirement at that point to go put the citation for the place where they said terrorism doesn't have a definition and talk about the ones that you're trying to adopt. An argument is you stating and taking a clear position within your work. So it's important that before you reach that argument, some things may have informed it. If in the course of reaching that conclusion, you mentioned other people's position or their own arguments, it's important that you cite them, so that people will know, your readers will understand, your supervisor will understand where you're headed. You don't just make blank statements. For an argument to come up strong, you need to show the journey you have made towards reaching that position. The next one, people are reading your work. You've established some background information. For instance, you're writing a paper. You can't put everything in there. You can't begin to tell us about the origin of terrorism. You might have to summarize that in, say, one paragraph or even less. But it's important that you remember that there are some persons who may read your work and they don't know enough about terrorism. So your citation at that point will be guiding them to the kind of resources they should locate to get this kind of background information about terrorism. So at that point, you need to cite. Have we seen how this is progressing? You don't just cite randomly. There are particular places in your work where it is needed. And if you don't, loss of credibility, and you're highly likely to fail or to repeat or to rewrite. And then lastly, when there are differences in opinion between authors, you don't just say, oh, this person said that and this person said that, or group A said that and group B said that. No. You have to list, for instance, the set of authors who adopted one position, list the number of authors who said the other position, and then it is clear to people that there are two opposing views on this subject. Even where they agree, if it's a generic thing, if everybody in that field, whether it's the biosciences or engineering, if there's a consensus, it's important that at least you cite one author or one publication that says this is a generic thing, this is a generic position in this field. I hope that this video has helped you, because more than ever before, the requirements and the standard for research writing and documentation is getting higher and higher. Even in universities where they never used to pay attention, but the world is changing. And so I pray that these things that I've shared will really help you. Today, we've talked about why we cite, just to refresh your memory because we've done this in the past. But more importantly, we've talked about the where, the location, and the when of citing. Citations, referencing, they are not just casual exercises. They are deliberate, they are planned, they are known. And today I've reminded you that these are the locations where you cite. I hope that this has helped you. Have a fantastic day, and please remember, if you found this content useful, just help me press the like button and then subscribe, because that way a lot of people will get to see our content. Thank you so much, and thank you, Ellen Hub, for making this platform available for research. Have an amazing day.